You don't need to know much about Donald Trump to have a broad understanding of what motivates him and how he approaches power. Just know that he is someone who ran a private company focused on real estate sales in New York for decades. He was someone who had long dictatorial control over a business operating in an industry known for its misrepresentations. Especially in that area, he spent years getting people to buy a lot of things. At time when allegations against him and his company were often ongoing, but has never been as successful at turning into investment as he has been since began a career in national politics in 2015. His approach that year was groundbreaking for a deceptively simple reason. Disappointed with the election and re-election of Barack Obama, Republican voters increasingly embraced misinformation about national political issues. The Republican establishment, including elected officials, didn't know how to handle this. At first, they tried to incorporate energy by reframing their desired policy choices in common vernacular with the Tea Party or far-right media outlets. But there was still a gap between what these media outlets and right-wing commentators endorsed and what established politicians were saying. He said things about immigrants that are common on the far right, even though they were exaggerated or false. There was a backlash to his claims, including from the GOP establishment, which helped increase his audience. Republicans, especially far-right Republicans who were more likely to vote in the primaries, heard him and saw him not as a dishonest, opportunistic demagogue but as a truth-telling pariah. The fact that everyone in a position to know pointed out that Trump was wrong or lying strengthened his political brand. He was man who challenged the hegemony of elite. Birds aren't real, but to an older generation. That's been Trump's selling approach ever since. You can see this in the rhetoric he used at campaign events in Iowa over the weekend, where he repeated false, debunked claims about election and tried to redefine President Biden as a threat to democracy. However, these are not the mechanism itself, but the extremes of its approach. Consider this rhetoric offered to support the idea that it is Biden, not Trump, who is undermining America's systems and history. You know, at school board meetings they label parents as domestic terrorists. So can you believe this? He said in Cedar Rapids. You know, when first heard about this, they actually went after parents brutally and violently. And when I first heard about this, thought people were making this up. They haven't made up for it yet. They made up for it. The idea that the Biden administration has called parents domestic terrorists has been debunked repeatedly. But because there is such a compelling reason to belittle Biden and the denials have not penetrated the right-wing media, this idea has become entrenched in anti-Biden rhetoric.